Rational to most people to just tell it like it is. And we say, if you continue to tell it like it is, if you continue to speak of the shortage of time, then the shortage of time will continue to be dominant in your experience. So you have to stop telling that story and tell a different story. And some people say, well, it makes me uncomfortable when I just make up a whole big old fib over something. And we say, well, then tell the fib in the way that doesn't upset you. In other words, talk about your joy of writing rather than your lack of time. Talk about the power of alignment rather than your lack of time. Talk about the exhilaration you get from writing rather than your lack of time. Talk about how time does begin to show itself to you more and more. Talk about how everybody has the same 24 hours. Talk about how you can spend 24 hours in alignment or 24 hours out of alignment, and the in alignment time is ever so much more productive. Talk about the laws of the universe. In other words, we've noticed that usually the more specific you are, the more resistant you are. And the more general you are, the less resistant you are. So just keep stepping back into more and more general statements until you find yourself in alignment with who you are. For example, I can feel the power of my alignment when I accomplish it. And I've discovered that I can accomplish alignment anytime I decide to. And I'm learning that no matter what I'm doing, I have the ability to reach for alignment factors within it. Okay. So it doesn't really matter what I'm doing or where I'm doing it or who I'm doing it with. I can focus myself into alignment. Everything that I want is because I think I will feel better in the having of it. And by reaching for alignment, I feel better first. That's what we were saying, get in the vortex and then think, get in the vortex and then write. In other words, just make general statements. This is something that all of you are in a position to do more clearly now than ever before, because now, even though you might not be in a position where you can stop doing what you're doing in order to do something else you want to do, a lot of you feel that that's the position you're in. You now have understanding of the laws of the universe. In other words, you now can speak and feel and know about the vortex. You can say, I'm an extension of source energy, and through the power of my focus, I can be outside the vortex and therefore less productive, or inside the vortex and therefore more productive. I can be outside the vortex and feel less good, or I can be inside the vortex and feel supremely good. I have the power to focus myself into the vortex no matter what, all day, every day. I am an extension of source energy. The larger part of me is already in the vortex. The larger part of me is calling me there. When I feel negative emotion, it just means I'm not going. When I feel positive emotion, it means I'm moving in the direction of it. I have this guidance that is always there for me. I believe in the laws of the universe. I believe that law of attraction is consistent. I believe that my life has caused me to ask for things that are all queued up for me vibrationally. I believe that my guidance lets me know, my emotional guidance, whether I'm in the vicinity of it or not. I believe that when I'm fearful, I'm further from the vortex. I believe that when I'm angry, I'm not as far, but still far from the vortex. When I'm overwhelmed, I'm still pretty far from the vortex. When I'm hopeful, I'm right on the verge of the vortex. If I can be hopeful, the vortex will take me in. Take me in. Now I'm believing. Now I'm in the vortex. I understand the laws of the universe. I understand the eternal nature of my being. I understand that I am spiritual no matter what. I understand that source energy is always there, wrapped around all that I have become. I understand that my emotions are my indicator of how well aligned or not aligned I am. I understand that my work is to close this gap. I understand that there are things that I can focus upon that will take me right in the vortex, and things I can focus upon that will take me right out of the vortex. I understand that nothing is more important than that I be in the vortex. There are so many things that I've been worried about that I can't do anything about. All of these uncontrollable components, I've decided to stop trying to control the uncontrollable and control something that I can control, which is my proximity to the vortex. I can tell a better feeling story. I can. I can't change that and that and that and that, but I can tell a better feeling story. And when I tell a better feeling story, now I'm in the vortex where everything that I want is. And when I'm in the vortex, now the world looks different, the world feels different, I rendezvous with different things. Even time is different from inside the vortex, you say. So how to get around that? How do you shift the way you feel? In other words, we used to play a lot as we had written the book when it had recently been written, ask and it is given. And we aren't kidding about it. When you ask, it is given. And we teased that people would say that can't be true. Where's my stuff? because I know I've been asking, where is it? And we say it's waiting for you in this vibrational reality, waiting for you to stop dominantly believing that it isn't there. It's the same thing that you can't find something that you believe is lost. You have to get distracted from it where you're no longer keeping active that vibration that you can't find it. And when you get distracted, it turns right up in your experience, because when you ask, it is given, but the path of least resistance has to do with the resistance, you see. So how does someone change a belief about something to allow what they want in? Well, the way you do it is by reaching for thoughts that feel increasingly better to you. You feel your way into alignment. Well, the factor that you're asking about that we're going to amplify here is the resistant factor. In other words, when you want something, but you have a habit of not expecting it to come, then it doesn't come. When you want something that is a new thought that you haven't practiced opposite thought about, then since there's no resistance, the universe yields it to you immediately. The three-step process is when you ask, it's always queued up for you. In other words, step one happens because contrast causes you to ask. Source lines it up immediately, but then you've got to get yourself in the vibrational vicinity. So in the example that you just gave, when it comes quickly, you were already in the vibrational vicinity, meaning you didn't have any resistant thought that was in the way of it. Often those things that you've wanted for a long time, you have just such a habit of expectation around them that you have resistance without even knowing it. We touched on it briefly here today when we said every subject is two subjects. And so the subject of money is money or lack of it. The subject of health is health or lack of it. And so it's like picking up a stick that has two ends on it. And sometimes you think you're talking about money, but really you're more active on the don't have it end than you are the wanted end. Another way of saying this is a desire that has no resistance just feels fresh and life-giving, while a desire that has resistance feels more like yearning. And a lot of people are yearning for things. They want it so much, they're aching for it. But when that is the case, they've got a big wad of resistance that's just slowing it down. And until they stop doing that thing they're doing, it can't come. So it really is about just telling the story more the way you want it to be, which means telling the story the way that gives you greater relief. We want you to get hooked on the feeling of alignment. These two vibrational aspects of you, when you are in sync, when in your physical body you have brought yourself into alignment with your source, you feel wonderful. And did you hear the precise words that we offered? When you bring yourself into alignment with who you really are, you will never hear us say, when non-physical moves out of the vortex of well-being and aligns itself with your ornery self, you'll never hear us say that, because the source within you will always remain in that pure positive energy place. And if you are going to be in sync with source, you got to do the moving. And it's not a hard thing to do when you realize that source won't get squirrely on you. Source is not arbitrary. Source won't be one way one day and another way another day. Source won't keep amending its constitution. Source does not continue to be different. Source does not make up a new rule of the game every day. Source is consistently source energy, pure, positive, love, energy, well-being, offering the vibration to you. So you have only to tune your signal to that. You call that, I want to ground myself. You call it, I want to center myself. You say, I want to get into the zone. We say, we want you to get into the vortex. We say, we want you to practice the art of allowing rather than the art of resistance. We want you to tune in, tap in, turn on to who you really are. You say, I want to be enlivened. We say, you want passion, you want love, you want appreciation. In other words, all those good feeling emotions mean that in this moment of the feeling of feeling positive emotion, you've tuned yourself to the frequency of who you really are by thinking the thought that is active within you in the way and from the perspective, from the vantage point that the source within you does. For example, when you look at someone, anyone, and you appreciate them or love them, and you feel that wonderful, warm feeling rippling through you, that is your confirmation that you're looking at this object of attention in precisely the way source is. But when you look at someone and yourself or anyone else, and you find fault with them, you criticize them or condemn them or fear them or worry about them or feel frustration about them or are angry, those negative emotions are your indicator that you're looking at it and you certainly have the right to do it. And your opinion matters, and it's right that you have one. But your opinion differs from the opinion of your source, and your guidance is letting you know that. Your guidance isn't demanding your harmony. Your guidance is just showing you the vibrational variance in the two vibrational aspects of you. And when you get that, then you can begin tuning yourself to the frequency of who you really are. Now, there are many benefits to that. Sometimes we play with our physical friends because there are many things you want that sometimes you feel aren't coming fast enough. And we say, those things that you want are already vibrationally queued up for you in your vortex of creation, and your inner being, the source within you, is there holding the picture of that steady so that you can tune yourself to it. And sometimes we tease our physical friends because they say to us some version of, you mean I have to tune myself to feeling good and then I'll get what I want? And we say, we know it's a terrible price to pay to actually have to feel good before what is good can flow steadily and constantly and abundantly into your experience. But we so want you to understand that it's already been carved out for you, in part before you got here, and a great deal of it since you've been here, as you've been living life and asking for improvement. In other words, when we speak of your past, present, and future, we acknowledge that during your past and even your present, you are launching vibrational requests forward into your vibrational reality. And when you do, they become present reality, vibrationally speaking. So from our vantage point, when you ask, the answer is so immediately given. The solution to your problem is so immediately discovered that what you call your future manifested reality is what we see as your present vibrational reality. And today, it is our desire to help you to bridge that gap so that you are more often inside your vortex of creation, where your reality has already materialized, where all of the cooperative components have already been assembled, so that you don't feel that lag between wanting and receiving. You could do that today if you were vibrationally tuned to your vortex of creation. Do you know what we mean by this vortex of creation? Before you were born, you were a singular energy. You were source energy. And a part of that source energy was focused from that non-physical vantage point into this physical body that you now think of primarily as you. We don't think of you in your physical body as primarily you. We still think of this source energy part of you as primarily you. This part of you is helping, certainly, and this part of you is fundamental to you. This part of you is the personality that you know as you. But you in your physical body, sifting through the contrast and giving birth to new desires, you are actually adding to this whole of you, to this vibrational version of you that is the reality of you. Most of our physical humans don't know that. Your beasts know it. There is very little gap or lag between your physical animals and their vibrational reality. You call them instinctual. Especially those in the wild. Those that you have domesticated begin to act a little bit more like you, in that they separate themselves from who they truly are more readily. You don't find too many dogs holding a grudge. But sometimes they do retreat into fear in response to what's going on in their physical environment if they are harshly treated and so forth. But physical humans, you find so much to fuss and worry about that you often affect a separation. It's too strong of word, but you get the point. A vibrational difference or variance between the source energy vibration